Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of the viewers from around the world. This is your host Vaibhav. In today's session of correlation and regression, we will be looking into the strength and weaknesses of key equity indices for the US. We will also take a look on what is the story, what has been the story so far for European equity markets, and afterwards we will shift our focus to the Forex segment where we will consider the happenings, the developments in terms of the price movement, price dynamics for major currencies which are against the dollar. So we will compare these currencies and we will see which is the strongest and which is the weakest in terms of the strength of the trend. So let us now head to the JForex for the newly released trading platform from the Dukascopy Bank SA. Here, this is the story so far for US equity indices. We had the release of non-farm payroll data. Afterwards, we saw sharp moves happening in these equity indices for the US. This is the chart for S&P 500, where we saw these sharp moves on both the sides. First, it nosedived, but it reversed course pretty soon, and it went on to rise more than 2 percentage points from the lowest point to the highest point, and after that it seems to have entered into a correction phase, and it will be interesting to see how this thing unfolds. But if we now have to consider any trade in these equity indices for the US, we will have to of course measure the strength and weaknesses of each of these indices, and then we will be in better position to make the assessment to where that particular trade should be taken. So for that, we first have to see on which side the trend is, whether it is bullish or bearish, and then the next step comes into play where we have to determine what is the instrument which is likely to be more favorable for any new trade entry. So here, if we consider these three equity indices, in all the equity indices for the US, we have bullish momentum so far. If we consider the price dynamic from the earlier part of the day, it went on to make higher highs and higher lows, and this low was quite lower. If we look at the price dynamic during the European trading hours, then this is a lower low. So it will be interesting here now. If this low holds, then we can say that this formation of higher highs and higher low is likely to continue. And in that case, we can continue to look for buying opportunity. So here, if we have to take the trade in this environment, first we will have to do is first thing we have to do is compare these price dynamic and see which is the strongest of the three. So for that, we can take into consideration when the high was made and when the low was made, and in that case, we get a better idea of what is the situation is, how the things are unfolding, and which is the strongest and which is the weakest of the three. And at the same time, we can also consider other equity indices like FTSE 100, the UK's equity index, the Germany's equity index DAX, and Euro 50. So for all these three equity indices from the euro, we have bullish momentum. And one interesting thing to take note of is that it didn't really touch this 4 hourly low as it happened in the case of US equity indices. So we can say that if we have to go for any long trade in keeping with this formation of higher highs, then we better take the trade in these any of the Eurozone equity indices compared to US equity indices, as we had this formation of a low on the 4 hourly chart, 4 hourly low, whereas that didn't really unfold in case of euro area equity indices. So comparatively speaking, we have stronger bullish momentum in eurozone equity indices, and that makes a case for keeping a watch on euro area equity indices. And if we have this formation where we can be confident of bullish tendency to continue, then it will be better for us to keep searching for opportunity to go long here. Now coming to this price formation, we can be fairly confident of euro area equity indices, but if we have to compare the US equity indices, in that case we can count on this price formation with this price dynamic where we had crossover for bullish side, the 50 sorry, the 1 hourly moving average crossed above the 2 hourly moving average at 15 GMT, and I think we have to compare this development here. It happened at 15:10 GMT, and for S&P 500 it is a similar deal. So it happened late for the Dow Jones, but if we compare this decline now which is unfolding, it is shallow in case of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, but it is much more pronounced for the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq. So if we have to now decide for any buy trade, then as I said, the first choice should be for European equity indices, and then if you only want to trade with the the US equity indices, in that case, the Dow Jones stands out as a better choice as we have this comparative strength on the bullish side for the Dow Jones in relations of Nasdaq and S&P 500, and compared to this, we have stronger bullish momentum in CAC 40 and DAX. Here you can notice that DAX is not really declining much. It is still quite holding quite well above this 2 hour moving average. Okay, so it makes sense for us to go for these three key equity indices for a bullish tendency. But now, when it comes to the price dynamic, we can never be 100% sure. So we have to also look for the possibility if the turnaround happens, if here we get to the formation of a new lower low, then it turns interesting, and in that scenario we can then start scoring for the opportunities to go short, and for that the better bet would be, I think, the S&P 500, which is declining at the fastest pace of all these equity indices, and it is on decline, and it is now not far off from this low. So here, in terms of relative strength, this is the weakest for bullish momentum, but it is strongest for the bearish momentum. So here the trade can be inverted in S&P 500, but for that we will first need the confirmation of a new low and then some consolidation, and only in that scenario we will be in better position to go for a short sell trade. So for that we can keep this S&P 500 shortlisted. So we have considered both the scenarios for bullish tendency. It will be better to keep looking for the opportunities in European equity indices. And if the price dynamic changes and if it turns bearish, in that scenario, it will be better for S&P 500 to be shorted. Now let's see what's happening in the forex space, where we will compare the major currency crosses involving the USD. So here we have this AUD USD chart, and the formation has been clearly of higher highs. So starting from Asian trading session, we have seen it forming continuous higher highs throughout the day, and same thing is unfolding in most of the other major currency crosses. So we have today the day of dollar weakness, and that dollar weakness has become more pronounced after the release of non-farm payroll data. So we saw these currencies moving sharply higher after the release of non-farm payroll data, and now these are sitting pretty high, closer to the day's high. So if you want to go for any trend trade with the trend. For that, the first thing we have to do is carry out the comparison and see how this relative strength is holding if we have to take any new trade. So let's consider this forex currency crosses. We can notice that GBP USD went on to make 4 hourly lows twice, but that didn't really happen for AUD USD or for that matter, even for Euro USD. So we can say that Euro USD it has happened. We saw the Euro USD also making a low, but AUD USD it is forming these higher highs and it never really touched this 4 hourly low. So this is the interesting scenario for AUD USD, and I think here looking at this price formation, we can make a case that AUD USD is much stronger in bullish momentum compared to the Euro USD and GBP USD. Let's see what's happening in NZD USD. For NZD USD also, these lows were made, so relatively speaking, in terms of the correlation, the AUD/USD is the strongest of the four. CAD also made this high, and CAD we have to invert it as USD is the first currency and CAD is the base currency. So the scale becomes inverted. CHF is also pretty much stronger on the bearish side. So all these currencies are getting stronger and stronger against the US dollar. For USD JPY, the story is looking a bit different. It had made quite a sharp jump on the higher side. Then it reversed course, but even now in its retracement, there is the instrument which has shown considerable rise. Whereas for other currency crosses, the movement is not that big. It is quite shallow. And here we are seeing again this GBP starting to rise, and same thing is also being seen in the AUD USD and other currencies. So here we have the cases of USD CHF and AUD USD being quite strongly in momentum and in bullish momentum. So now we have to decide which is the strongest of the two, USD CHF or AUD USD. For that, we can simply go back in time and see the price formation earlier in the day. So here, when the USD had corrected to some extent, we saw it didn't really go on to touch this 4 hourly low, but for USD CHF that did happen. So from that we can draw a conclusion that the AUD USD is much stronger in terms of the bullish tendency compared to the USD CHF. So the first choice for any long trade, any trade in which you expect the continuation of this bullishness of other major currencies against the dollar, then AUD USD is a perfect choice for continuation of the trend. But if you are not really that confident and if you expect some sort of reversal or some retracement to start happening, in that scenario, I think the USD JPY makes a case where we are seeing these substantial retracement from these days low. Earlier in the day also, we saw it going on to the higher side, and it went on to touch almost 12-hour high here. So keeping all these things in mind, I think for any continuation of the trend, the USD is a best bet, best scenario. So for AUD/USD, you can wait for some consolidation to unfold, and if it doesn't really cross below this immediate low, in that scenario, the new trade with the expectation of a fresh high can also be initiated. And on the opposite spectrum, as I said, we have the slightly weaker trend in GBP USD and USD CHF. So we will get these two options to go against the trend. So after consolidation, if we don't really see this GBP USD getting stronger and making a new high, and if it starts to decline, In that scenario, it would be a better bet for shorting opportunities and some retracement move can be expected. So this is the good idea, good option for going against the dollar strength. So we have both the scenarios mapped here for with the trend. We have the AUD for against the trend, the GBP USD or even USD JPY can be utilized. Now let's see what's happening in commodity space. We have the Brent crude and the light crude. Here also the bullish tendency is intact. We have the strongly bullish scenario for both of these commodities. Now, if we have to decide which is the stronger of the two, it will be a bit complicated here. I think I will also need to add 2 hourly range, so that will give us added price points to determine the relative strength. So I am adding that as well. Okay, so here we have it. Now the light crude had made a low, 2 hourly low at 9:45 GMT. After that, it's been the journey of higher highs and higher lows. And let's see what's the story for Brent. Brent made a 2 hourly low at 9:35 GMT, whereas for light crude it was at 9:45 GMT. That means the light crude is a little bit stronger, but if we compare this price formation, it is not much different. There is not much of a lag. The trajectory is similar, as is the case most of the time. Only difference is the magnitude for these two commodities, and in this case, we are seeing that just a little bit the light crude oil is on the stronger footing. Now let us see what's the story for regression side. We will compare these current price scenarios with the average prices over the given period of time. So if we see the current prices for these commodities, we have significant deviation from last 12 hour as well as 24 hours price moves, and we can expect this rise to stabilize in coming hours, and after that we can expect this to consolidate, and maybe after the consolidation, if we have a fresh breakout on same side, then we can go for a long trade. Else we will have to make a reassessment of the price dynamic and then decide accordingly then and there. For DAX, we have this sharp move on the higher side and it is still continuing to trade. So it is better to stick with the trend and not go for any against the trend trade right now, as it is strongly bullish and we have this continuous upward momentum. So it would be foolish to go for any shorting opportunity right now. So if we have to indeed short, for that the S&P 500, Dow Jones and Nasdaq can be kept an eye on. I'm not saying we should be shorting this, but if you want to go for any short sell trade, then for that the Nasdaq and S&P 500 would be the obvious choice, where we have these price moves which are not much far away from these average prices for last 12 as well as for last 24 hours. But for other euro area equity indices, we have strong bullish momentum. So in that, it is much better to trade with the trend, and for US we really can adopt a wait and watch approach. Now let's see the euro USD's actual price, current price in terms of its moving average price. We have the Euro USD at significant deviation from its 24 as well as from 12-hour moving price. So we can expect it to enter into a consolidation phase moving forward, and in that time we can expect then these average prices to catch up with this recent price spurt which we are observing currently in these major currency crosses. So I would not be betting on a new trade to be taken right now, but after due consolidation, the momentum is clearly on the bullish side. So it would be better idea to stick with the trend and continue to look for opportunities to go long. All right. So here we have the strongest bullish case for AUD USD, as I explained to you for while looking for the relative strength and weaknesses of all these major currencies. And if we consider the USD CHF and USD CAD, these are also now showing significant deviation from the average price. But for USD JPY, it is not that far off from its average price. So we can say that the momentum is weaker for the JPY. It is not that strong against the dollar, but the AUD USD is the strongest of the lot, and it would be a better idea to keep looking for opportunities for continuation of the trend in AUD, and GBP USD or USD JPY can be taken into consideration if you are going for scalping against the trend trades. So that's my assessment of these price dynamics unfolding in today's session using the correlation and regression analysis. So if any of you have any query or any idea to share, you can write back to me in the feedback section and I would be more than happy to take the discussion forward. I will be back tomorrow with the assessment of price formation, and we will see how we can make informed trading decisions, and that would be on Monday. Tomorrow is Saturday, so we will be taking the time off, and once we are back with the back to trading on Monday, then we will be having a new assessment, new scenarios, and we will consider these developments and take the trading decisions in light of all these developments. Thank you all for joining in for further coverage of the market developments. Do check out the Dukascopy Analytics page. We are also available on the Facebook. You can reach out to us there too. For trying out this newly released trading platform, I have also included the link in the bio. So give it a try and let me know how these things work out for you. See you on Monday. Goodbye.